friends, welcome to another episode of Badass Engineers, and today I've got the founders of AFBE, Dr. Ollie Folayan and Dr. Ollie Folayan. Hello friends, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
How are you?
Hi, I am so excited that this is finally happening because for the people who don't know, the way I met both of them is they were interviewing me. So this time the tables have turned.
This is really just to get one back on us, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's right.
You're a bit too mean.
I'm a bit what?
I said we were a bit too mean to you, so you got.
Oh, no.
I'm gonna get them back.
You're both so nice. I was just like super nervous and going, oh no. But this is not a nervous thing. You're not here to prove anything. You're here because I love you and I want to learn so much more about you, and I want everybody else to see all the awesome work that y'all do. Would you like to introduce yourselves? Shall we start with Dr. Nike?
Gosh, okay, so I'm Ollie Folayan. I know it's spelled Nike, but my name was came before the brand, so really they should pay me royalties. Yeah, so I'm an engineer and I work for a company called WSP. I work as a technical director and I work on a wide range of projects. My claim to fame is I've worked on projects on every single continent apart from the North and South Pole. So, and I also chair AFBE, which is an organization that aims to inspire everybody and with particular emphasis on Black and ethnic minority people to consider careers in engineering. And this is the second time myself and Ollie are on the same platform. We don't generally do platforms together, so it's really exciting.
Really? Oh, I thought y'all are doing that all the time.
No.
So you're brother and sister, right?
Yes.
I love it. Dr. Ollie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Ollie Folayan, chemical engineer and combustion specialist, and that's because I've always been fascinated with fire. I won't tell you what else I've been up to, but yes,
wow.
I'm involved in been involved in lots of sort of capex and opex projects. I work as a consultant now, sort of plying my trade with different businesses, and like Nick. I'm also one of the co-founders of AFBE-UK, and I've been living in Scotland for about 11 years. And I set up the Scottish arm of AFBE-UK in 2011.
I love Scotland.
It's 11 years.
Well, I used to say Scotland is a really nice place to visit, with emphasis on the word visit. I never thought I'd actually ever live here, but yeah, here we are, 11 years on.
11 years, that's a huge time. I remember the first time when I realized, I live in Bristol now, but I remember the first time I realized I've lived close to half of my life in Cardiff, and I was like, well, I'm Welsh now, so.
Yes, I know I stayed here too long because every now and then I'll be listening to BBC Radio 4 and I'll hear a Scottish accent and I'll be like, oh, what about?
Hey, I love it.
It's a sign I've been here a bit too long.
No, Scotland represents. It's never too long. So I am going to go for the questions. This is the interview, y'all. So I've got some questions in this bag and I'm going to pick them out at random and see how many we can answer in 20 minutes. How do you feel about that? Yes. I just want to let people know who haven't sent us questions in advance, so you can send us questions in the comments too. I'll keep my eyes out on them and we can answer them live as well. All right, let's see what comes out first then. And it is.
I like the music.
Thank you. I'm a composer, badass engineer composer. Hello from Kayinja in Yang in the comments. Hi. So what made you start AFBE? Who wants to answer that?
Ollie, do you want to go?
No, you go. You're the boss.
Okay, so
I know my place.
So it was really at a time when there were a number of things happening. A number of things being that there was not enough people from Black and ethnic minorities in the organizations that we both worked at that were visible role models for us, and there were challenges in the workplace, obvious challenges around ethnicity,
Mm.
but you couldn't really talk about it. There was no avenue to talk about it. There was no platform to talk about it. In fact, you could as well, it could have as well been talking about unicorns and stuff like that if you said anything about ethnicity at
Really?
the time. Yeah, and then
Wow.
also at the time there was a lot of gang culture issues around London,
Mm.
as there is today. And Tony Blair, who was the prime minister at the time, then said black culture was responsible for crime. And
No.
I remember us having a conversation and we thinking we're in the wrong profession because
You know,
we're not committing crime. Maybe we should kind of quit our jobs as engineers and just go out there and join the
Oh my
culture.
just
Because
find
god.
my inner gangster.
exactly,
Release my inner gangster. Sort of like
exactly, so
Superman, but
exactly. So
oh
that's
my
just some
god.
of the reasons why, there are deeper reasons, and we talk about. We did a kind of YouTube video where we talk about a bit more about why we started AFBE, but really we wanted to the young people around us that we knew at the time, also in Croydon, didn't really have people they could look up to apart
Mm.
from the footballers and the tiny
Rappers.
tiny tempers. Tiny temper, where is he anyway? Tiny he used to be like, yeah.
Love it.
One of the key kind of rappers that young people used to look up to at the time. He's still around, I'm sure, doing
There's a
great
lot of
stuff.
people
But
who were around who are
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
just like disappeared. I'm like,
yeah,
where
Dizzy
are you?
Rascal,
Yes.
and so and
Love
so
Dizzy
on.
Rascal.
So yeah, so that's one. So that's some of the reasons why we thought, we needed to do something to make a
Wow.
difference, to change the narrative, to change the stereotype, and that's where FB really came from.
Oh, I love it. Preach, 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 preach. Dr. Ollie, maybe you'd like to let me know what kind of work you do at AFBE.
Oh, so it's more like what don't I do at AFB? It's pretty much everything. So I mean, let's put it this way. AFBE has three key objectives, and
Mhm.
and you can pick a lot of that from what Nick has just been saying. We want to get more people into the industry, so attract more people.
Please.
We want to retain more people in the industry because what we find is that, your typical person from a black and minority ethnic engineer, I think there are studies that show, the GEM study that showed that your typical person, especially if you've got an ethnic sounding name,
Mm.
likely to have to send out 60% more applications for jobs in order to get a similar callback rate to someone with a white sounding name. And if you are from a Nigerian or Pakistani background, you're likely to have to send out 80% more. So there's some challenges that people face there, and we want to ensure that people are retained. And then what we also see is that there is such a low representation of black leaders in positions, and what we find is that people tend to become what they see. And so if they can see a lot of people who are in those positions who look like them, have a similar background to them, it might encourage them to aspire to those positions. So if I can answer your question, I'm involved in pretty much developing programs, organizing programs, managing a large team of people to help us achieve those goals, and working with companies. And at the start of AFBE, I would say that my role certainly was a lot more of a kind of let's get things done, let's organize programs. I felt more like a community organizer. These days, it's a bit of, I would say, there's a little bit more advocacy work involved. So we're talking to universities, companies, and every now and then Nika sends me on errands, like she's sending me on one tomorrow.
I know it so well. Wow.
if they need someone to make the teas, oh yeah, Ollie, can you go over and make some teas for them? Or make a mean cup of tea.
A mean cup of tea.
Yeah.
It's all love.
Can
It's all
change
love,
your
really.
life.
Tea is such a British thing. So I'm glad I came after the Tony Blair comments. I had no idea about that because I was still a child in Egypt. So do you think things have been changing?
Egypt, by the way. We had our honeymoon in Egypt,
No.
in Luxor. So it is one of the most beautiful places ever.
It is beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yes.
I'd love to show so much more of the engineering talent there because actually, in women study engineering almost just as often as men do. So it's about 42% of engineers, qualified engineers in Egypt are graduates are women. So we've got so much to learn. Here.
Hello, Tony.
Hello, Tony. Hello. Oh, what a cutie. Maybe Tony can answer the next question.
He'll do a better job than me, that's for sure.
No way. All right, I just got another question out, and it says, "Oh, when do you think the next black or brown president of the IAT will come?" Who wants to answer?
That's going to be Nicola. I'm an imposter.
No idea, but I hope sooner than later. I think the IET, in my view anyway, is actually quite more progressive than some of the other institutions. No offense to them. But I know a number of people that would I've spoken to actually that have aspirations to do that. So, and I'm talking about ethnic minority people. So I'm hoping that it's sooner than later, to be honest. Because if you think about it, the IET has had a number of presidents that have been female in comparison to many of the other institutions. So, it's a challenge for us that are in this space doing this work. Recently, I think the IMEC has recruited a CEO, a female CEO. Um,
I think
but I
the
can't
Royal
remember
Academy
her
as
last name.
well.
But things are. Yeah, oh yeah, Hyaton, yeah, doing an amazing job.
Love
And
her.
she's been with us, AFBE she was at our launch back in
From the start.
2008. So
Yeah,
this is
from the
Really?
very
someone that
start.
really
Yeah.
is committed to this.
She
Yeah,
believes in the
yeah.
stuff.
So I'm hoping that that's right.
Oh,
That's right.
sending
Really
her
does.
love. We're sending you
And
love,
so yes, I'm
Hayatun.
hoping that soon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and just to build on that,
Yes,
actually,
she's amazing. She's amazing.
I do feel like the IT has done a very good job of bridging this gap between industry and culture, and I think that that's what all institutions have to do. Make engineering. You're a good example of that, Shrouk. I don't have to be someone who is in the engineering world to know who you are, or to know who Ellie is. And that's because, and if you, or to know who Yuande is, and that's because the IT has actually done a fantastic job, and people like Joe Foster, who's recently left, who have done a really good job of, and I think a really good example to some of the others. So it can't be that far away that we have, a female ethnic minority president of the IT.
hope that happens.
Yeah,
really
the rest
soon.
of them. Yeah, for the rest of the institutions, I'm afraid we might have to wait until 2050, along with the net zero targets. But we'll see.
We'll see. Yes, but that's great.
Honestly, I can't disagree with anything that's been said there. It's truth. They need to step up. Really, they do really need to.
Definitely.
Listen, please. But that's really beautiful to hear about the IIT because obviously that's the institution that I'm mostly affiliated with because I'm a member and I'm applying for CEng right now. Just waiting for a PRI date. Thank you. So yeah, it would be beautiful to see that representation right at the top, and even just seeing Danielle, kicking ass. That to me already makes me feel like, oh, maybe somebody like me can do it one day, and it's just beautiful.
Absolutely.
Shall we go for another one from the back?
Go on.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, let's do it. Okay. Ooh, what do we think about the term BAME?
Okay. Do you want me to go on that one, or do you want to go first?
I can go first because I have a very
Okay.
non-standard
Strong
view.
views.
Yeah, well, yeah. I have
I'm
strong views
waiting.
on cheese as well, so but we won't talk about cheese. Let's just talk about babe. My view is this, and I know that, you know, it's a term that groups people together. I get
Mm,
that. I get that it kind of means that sometimes that some groups are overlooked. I get that. But I'm more concerned about people than
mm,
terms. I'm more concerned about seeing more people achieve um, what they are meant to achieve by merit. I'm more interested in seeing what we are doing for either the collective or individual community. I do think it's important to break it down, but as we've seen in the recent race report, it's a distraction. It's a way of saying you guys get to not be called BAME. Are you happy now? We're not, you know, we're
ah,
not racist, but you can just carry on not calling yourself BAME. What we need is, if we're not calling ourselves BAME, that's fine and it's good. However, what is the impact on certain communities? What's happening with the Black community? What's happening in the Asian community? How are we demonstrating inclusion and equality in those communities? It's not about the term; it's
mm.
about the impact on people's lives. That's
Wow,
my
that
that's
was
my view.
very strong.
Absolutely. I do think that, yes, I mean, there are a lot of people who, in the last few, we actually, the oil and gas industry just had a first time ever did a industry survey on diversity. And we had some very interesting findings.
Mm,
We created this thing called the D&I Index, which looked at sense of belonging, looked at, just various qualities that are leadership and various qualities that make up for a diverse workforce. And what we found is that the two lowest scores in all of the survey, which was 11 points lower than average, were for
mm.
people who were disabled or people who were Black.
Oh, wow.
And this was not sort of Black and minority ethnic, but people who were Black, because if they then looked at people who are Asian, they were actually just 2 points off the average. And so in that sense, we understand exactly where the concerns, because there are certainly people who have weaponized that. So the CRED report, for example, that the government issued, suggested that the pay gap between people who are who are white and people who are from a BAME background, and you notice they actually used the term, or were willing to use the idea of BAME, even in that report, when it was
Right.
convenience, just reiterating the point that Nico was making. But they said that gap was 2.3%, which is a lie, because ultimately, if you took within this BAME categorization, if you took people who are Chinese and people
Mm,
who are Indian, they are much higher and have been high for a very long time. If you take people who are Black, Bangladeshi, or Pakistani, they are much, much lower. And when Professor Alan Manning from the London School of Economics actually did a review, and he corrected for things like class, corrected for things like qualifications and all of that, what he found is that the pay gap for people who are African, Caribbean, Pakistani, Bangladeshi has not changed in the last 25 years.
25 years.
25 years. So that instruction of BAME is for the mischief makers who particularly like to use it in order to cover up real inequalities, just so they can say everything's fine and they can gaslight people like us. But in actual fact, whatever we choose to call it, let's make sure that we disaggregate all the stats that we look at. And when it comes to the ethnicity pay gap, that we are not using the gender pay gap as a template. We're actually looking per grade What does it mean for people who are African, who are in the same level? What does it mean for people who are African, who are in the middle level? What does it mean for people who are African, who are in senior level? Because the ratio of male to female is much smaller, than the ratio of majority to minority. And all it takes is one person who's senior leaving a company, and your ethnicity pay gap can go from 6% to 33%. So we agree with the principle that you disaggregate stats when you're looking at disparities, but let's be mindful that even those who are saying scrap BAME are quite happy to use it when it suits their narrative.
That is such a powerful point. That's such a strong point. Thank you both for making that point so clear for everybody who doesn't understand that concept as well. And if you disagree, please let us know in the comments. That's completely fine. We'd love to discuss it. I know we've already done our 20 agreed minutes, but I love
It's
it.
because I keep talking too much, that's why.
No, it's not that. It's because I love you guys. Can we do one more question?
Go on.
Yes. Thank you. Oh, two came out. Okay, this question is for Dr. Nikkei, and it says, how do I become a good RF engineer? RF scares me. RF scares me. Tell me.
I think it's what lots of people in the industry call the dark art, or some call it black magic, actually. But I think it's just about maths, really. It's just, if you understand, if you love mathematics, you can be a good RF engineer, because it's all about numbers. The spectrum is about numbers. The different, people are so quick to say 4G, 5G, blah 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 blah, but that's all relating to numbers and frequencies, and how they behave. So I like to see, a bit weird like that, I like to see each frequency as a particular character, and I like to name them a particular, there's frequencies that are a bit diva-ish, and there's frequencies that are quite calm and gentle, and they have their own characters, and they have the way they move, and they have the way they behave in different environments. And so I think what puts people off being radio frequency specialists is that we make it so abstract. So if you kind of start to think about them as, maybe Ford 3G is a diva, and 2G just likes to talk, and you think about it like that, and then you think, okay, 5G that everyone's scared of is kind of the mystery, then it kind of makes it really real. I think the problem is that at university level, it is generally not taught in a way that people understand. It's kind of very, here's inductance and capacitance, and this is what happens.
Here are Smith charts. So I think I got especially scared with my current job, because I design for wearables a lot, and it's sort of the first time I did this was with this role, and obviously I have to deal with Bluetooth low energy all the time, and like Wi-Fi, and basically, like you said, when I demystified it to like, what do I actually need to do? And there are sort of some rules you follow, and then things just fall in place, right? Like have a complete ground plane and don't put any signals through it, sort of maybe use the same antenna all the time.
That's right.
Just like,
That's right. I spent a few years of my life kind of looking at patterns, and Ollie will remember this, that I used to look at patterns because I was designing antennas. So one of my
That's right, the
designs was based on my sister's coat. Yeah, the bow tie antenna was based on, I looked at a pattern on my sister's coat, and I thought, oh yeah, you can extend the inductance and capacitance by just streamlining this part and so on, and obviously that will increase the bandwidth and so on. So yeah, it's
that is incredible. I love we just
it's
had
an
like
interesting area.
a geek chat, and we've named some frequencies divas and some frequencies like to talk. That's beautiful. Thank you both so much. This has been amazing, and like I said, it's nice to turn the tables around a little bit. But yes, everybody please find out what AFBE are doing and get involved and donate. And thank you so much, RS Grassroots Education, Parent Tech Empowering Youth, for sponsoring this series. Thank you, friends. I'll see you all in another 2 weeks for another Badass Engineers.
Cool. Excellent. So then I'll get to talk about fire. Okay. So
you don't get to talk about.
I get to talk about fire and combustion. That's far more interesting than radio waves.
I actually agree.
It's incredible.
Don't worry me.
It's incredible. It gets humans to other planets. Yes, ESA are recruiting right now, aren't they, for the new astronauts?
Oh,
but combustion got them there, so thank you, Dr. Ollie.
So yes, we should be talking about fire.
Yes.
not flame throwing, just proper combustion.
We were talking about the Croydon riot, and I was talking about the furniture shop that got burned.
Croydon riot.
I feel bad for the furniture shop, but I'm glad it got the community together.
Yeah, it did. It did. That was a bit of combustion going on.
Thank you, Croydon. Croydon represents.
This was not what I had in mind, but you know.
No.
This is getting recorded, by the way.
Oh dear. Okay, I better stop now then.
Oh no, you go for it, but I'm keeping it. All right, thank you so much, and I'm always here if you need anything, of course. And yeah, have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Bye, Master.
Bye. Bye.